Welcome to this session on must-do sets for CAT LRDI preparation. Whether you are just starting out or revising for the upcoming CAT examination, these are sets which you should not be missing on the way. In this session, we'll be looking at the third part of the calculation series. In this case, we'll be looking at combo questions. We are just not focusing only on graphs or only on tables or only on cases. We'll be combining all these areas. There might be some cases where there might be no graph given. You will have only a case. There might be cases where you'll have a graph and a table given. You might have a scenario where you have a graph and a case given. And again, all the concepts that we used in the previous calculation-based sets, please go through that in order to solve these particular sets. Let's get on with this. If you are running short of time, obviously you can skip to the relevant sets. Each of the videos which you'll be releasing will have links available in the description where if you click on it, you can skip to the relevant set. A rating agency Tibble has consolidated the placement statistics across the top 50 MBA colleges in the country. Okay. Each student in each of these colleges was placed in exactly one of the four specializations: finance, consulting, marketing, and HR. So these are the four areas. Okay, so you have finance, consulting, marketing, HR. This is there in all the three graphs. Each student was also classified on the basis of his past work experience before commencing his MBA as experienced or fresher. So people with work experience are experienced, people without are fresher, or there is some classification. So you are either experienced or a fresher. Further, the rating agency also classified the gender of each student and found that each student identified himself as male or female. Okay, so there is no third gender which is there, right? So only males or females, that's another bifurcation. The following graphs provide the summary of the data collected by Tibble. Okay, so right now we have by stream, you have work experience or fresher or experienced and fresher and male and female. Right, and if you look at it, this is non-engineers. Okay, so there are experienced engineers, experienced non-engineers, experienced engineer freshers, non-engineer freshers. So there is another classification which is engineering and non-engineering. Okay, so we'll have to look at that. So there is three granularity of a table. Now, if it was just one particular college, then it would look like a Venn diagram sort of a case. But here, there are like four different streams, right? So we'll have four different Venn diagrams. You don't need to draw a Venn diagram. You can try to solve it, but we'll try to do it using a table. Okay, just let's quickly go through the questions. What do they say before we jump and create the table? What is the ratio of the number of non-engineer males placed in HR to the number of female engineers placed in HR? So this talks about ratio. This also talks about ratio. This also gives you a ratio, and this is a direct comparison. So there is nowhere where the total number of students is given. Everything is in terms of ratio, one with respect to the other, right? So we can assume a total value for a stream and then try to calculate that. Okay, now let's quickly go through what is the bifurcation which is required. Okay, so you have four streams. You have finance, consulting, marketing, HR, right? So the first bifurcation is work experience and no work experience. So you have experienced people and fresher, right? That will be the first graph. The second graph is percentage of non-engineers. So part of the experience will be engineers, others will be non-engineers. So engineers, non-engineers, right? And then there's a percentage of males. So you have experienced engineer male, experienced engineer female, then you'll have experienced non-engineer males, experienced non-engineer females, fresher engineer males, fresher engineer females, fresher non-engineer males, and fresher non-engineer females. So using these three, you'll have to construct this table. So this is 8 into 4, 32 items is what you need to fill up. Okay, so let's quickly do that. It should not be very difficult. Okay, so let me try it out for one or two. We can do it for the rest also. I will not do it for all. I mean, it will take you another 2-3 minutes to do for the rest as well. Okay, I've just switched the graphs here to create some space for me. Okay, so let's assume there are 100 people in finance. Okay, or 100% is the total finance capacity. 60% are with work experience. So 60 here, 40 here. Right, so this is taken care of. Now let's look at the split here. In finance, this is percentage of non-engineers. Right, out of the 60 people who are experienced, right, 50% of the experienced people are non-engineers. 50% of the 60, which means 30 people are non-engineers. 30 people are non-engineers, which means the balance 60 minus 30, another 30 people will be engineers, right? So this is taken care of. Now what does the other graph say? 30% of freshers are non-engineers. 30% of freshers are non-engineers. So 30% of 40 will be 12, which means this total will be 40 minus 12, 28. Right, this is taken care of. Now, how do we bifurcate this further? Okay, these are 4 values. Okay, 50% of experienced engineers are males. 50% of experienced engineers. Right, experienced engineers is total is 30. 50% of them are males. So 15 males. So the balance 15 will be females. This is out. 40% of experienced non-engineers are males. 40% of experienced non-engineers are males. 40% of 30 will be 12, which means the balance will be 18. 30 minus 12, 18, or 60% of 30 is 18. Right. Next, you have 25% of engineer freshers are males. Engineer freshers are males, 25%. 25% of 28 will be 7. So balance will be 28 minus 7, 21. Right, and the last one, 33.33%, which is 1/3. 1/3 of non-engineer freshers. Non-engineer freshers are males. 1/3 will be 4. So the balance will be 8. This is done. Now let's do it for another stream just to get our concepts in place. So let's do it for HR. So we'll look at this, this, and this. Right, try to fill this up. Again, we'll assume 100% for HR. Right, 20. Right, 20% is people with experience. So balance 80% will be people without work experience. Out of 20, 80% are non-engineers. 80% are non-engineers. 80% of 20 is 16. So balance should be 4. Similarly, if you look at the freshers part, 40% of freshers don't have, 40% of freshers are non-engineers. So 40% of 80 will be 32. This should be 80 minus 32, 48. So this is done. Okay, let's look at this. 100% of experienced engineers in HR are males. So this should be 4, which means this should be 0. Right. For this, 25% will be males. 25% will be 4. This will be 12. This is out. Again, for this, 25% are males. So this will be 12 and 36. And the last one also is 25%. 25% will be 8. This should be 24. Right, and I can similarly fill for the others as well. It's actually easier to do it on a paper rather than on a one. I mean, if you are patient, in about 3 minutes, you'll be 3 to 4 minutes, you'll be able to construct this entire table. Right, remember, this is not the number of people. This is basically as a percentage of, so if finance is 100%, as a percentage, this is the split. If consulting is 100%, this will be the split. So if consulting is 200, everything will become twice of this. If marketing total is 300, then everything will become 3 times this. Obviously, it cannot be 300 because you cannot have 3 times this. So marketing will be a even multiple of 100, right? So for HR, again, if this is 100, this is how the split is going to be. So once this is done, we can proceed with the questions. Let's start. Okay, first one. What is the ratio of number of male non-engineers in HR? Male non-engineers HR. So in HR, you want male non-engineers. So it can be 4, and on the fresher side it will be 8. So 4 plus 8 will be 12. That will be your LHS. 2, the number of female engineers placed in HR. You want female who are engineers. 0 inexperienced, 36 in non-experienced. So 0 plus 36 will be 36. 12 is to 36 will be 1 is to 3. Option D will be your correct choice. Question number 2. If the number of students placed in consulting is 4 times the number of students placed in HR. This is what we discussed. So if this is 100, this should be 400. So everything should be 4 times this value. Everything should be 4 times this value, right? If you assume HR is this, right? What is the ratio of the number of females placed in consulting to the number of males placed in HR? Okay, females in consulting. Let's first calculate the raw part. Females in consulting will be 14 plus 12 plus 17 plus 3. This is 20. 20 plus 26 is 46. Then you need to multiply by 4 because there are 400 students here, right? So this is for every 100 students. So for 400 students, it will be this into 4. Okay, now this obviously will be A. You can straight away mark A because 46, when you cannot factor it even more, and there is nothing which has 46 in it. So you can stop it here, but just for convenience sake, let's go and try it on this side. Okay, see, 46 is 23 into 2. So even if you get 23, the worst it will go to is 23, but there is no 23 over here. So you can directly mark A. But let's, for convenience sake, let's try the second part as well. Number of males in HR. Males in HR will be 4, 4, 12, and 8. That's 8, 8 plus 12, 20, 20 plus 8, 28. Right? If you divide by 4 on both sides, that will be 46 is to 7. Now I don't need to multiply this by 4 because we know consulting is 4 times HR. So 400 and 100. Right? Pretty straightforward. Question number 3. If the number of students placed in finance, consulting, marketing, and HR are in the ratio 2 is to 3 is to 3 is to 2, which of the following stream has the highest number of female engineers? I need maximum number of female engineers, and the ratio is given as 2 is to 3 is to 3 is to 2. So if there are 200 in finance, there will be 300 in consulting, 300 in marketing, and 200 in HR. So we'll multiply this at the very end. Let's calculate the raw values just like we did in the previous one. Okay, what do we need? I need female engineers, right? So 15 and 21. So I need to add this column and this column. 15 and 21 is 36. 14 and 17 is 31. 9 and 7 is 16. 0 and 36 is 36. Now you need to multiply. 36 into 2 is 72. 31 into 3 is 93. 16 into 3 is 48. And 36 into 2 is 72. Highest is the second one, which is consulting. Option B is your correct choice. And the last one, how many of the following statements are true for the students placed in marketing? Okay, so you need to look at only the marketing stream, Okay, first one, the number of female engineers with work experience. Female engineers with work experience. So experience, engineer, female, that's 9. Right, is greater than the number of male engineers without work experience. Male engineer without work experience, 7. 9 is greater than 7, so the first statement is true. Now I need to find how many of them are true. So I need to mark 1, 2, or 3, etc. Okay, second statement, the number of male engineers with work experience, right? The number of male engineers with work experience is more than the number of female non-engineers with work experience. Male engineers work experience. Male engineer work experience, that's 3, is more than number of female non-engineers with work experience. Right, female non-engineers with work experience, that's 4.5. Now 3 is not more than 4.5, so second is out, right? more than 2/3 of the number of students are females. So in marketing, more than 2/3 are females. How many females are there? 9 plus 4.5, 13.5 plus 7, 20.5 plus 42. So 62.5% are females. Now 2/3 is 66.66. So third is also out. And the fourth, the number of engineers without work experience. Number of engineers without work experience. Engineers without work experience. So you're looking at this. Is lesser than number of non-engineers with work experience. Engineers without work experience is 48. Is lesser than non-engineers with work experience. Non-engineers with work experience. That's 16. So 48 is not less than 16. So this is also out. So only the first statement is correct. So this is a brilliant question on data interpretation. The amount of data scares you, right? You see the three graphs in the first place, no information which is given. The initial urge is basically to leave this question. This is not a question which you should definitely not start the paper with. This is not the question to start your paper with. But if you keep your calm, right, and slowly build on what is actually given, right, you need to fill up this 32 data points, right? Filling up this data point actually becomes reasonably straightforward after a point of time. You know where is where is there. If you do it in sequence, it's not that difficult to fill this up. Key point was to fill this up as quickly as possible. This will take you between 5 to 7 minutes to fill this up. You spend that initial 5 to 7 minutes to fill this up. Each question can be solved in about 1.5 minutes time. It's a moderate to difficult purely because of the amount of data which is given to you, right? It will require you upwards of 10 minutes, maybe 12 to 13 minutes in an exam situation. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click on the notifications button so that you are notified when we are releasing our next set of videos. Please do like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. If you want to connect with us, you can connect with us through WhatsApp and Telegram as well. All the relevant links are available in the description of this particular video. Hi, this is a pretty straightforward question. It has a lot of data. It looks pretty big. And definitely you'll need some amount of scrolling, etc. to do it. But actually it's not very difficult if you go through the questions properly. Okay. The Ministry of Home Affairs is analyzing crimes committed by foreigners in different states and union territories of India. All cases refer to the ones registered against the foreigners in 2016. The number of cases classified into three categories: IPC, SLL, and other crimes for 9 union territories and states shown in the figure. The 9 belong to the top 10 in terms of total number of cases registered. So these are the 9 out of the top 10. And the remaining state is West Bengal, where all 520 crimes. Okay, there are a total of 520 crimes. They are all SLL types of crimes. So West Bengal will actually go out of the, you'll have to draw a separate, the axis will skew it up because West Bengal is a huge number. So West Bengal has 520 items and this scale is only till 150, right? So it'll be huge, right? We also know that anything from 11 and below will have total crimes less than 25 of any category, and the total will be less than 25, right? That we know. Okay. The table below shows the ranks of the 10 states or union territories mentioned above. All states, union territories of India in terms of number of cases registered in each of the three categories. Okay. These are the ranks. A state or union territory is given a rank R for a category of crimes if there are R-1 states having larger number of crimes registered in that category. For example, if 2 states have same number of cases in that category and exactly 3 other states have larger cases registered, then both the states will be given rank 4. Okay. So suppose you have, say, suppose 20, 10, 11 and 15. Suppose you have to rank them. So 20 will be given rank 1, 15 will be given rank 2, 11 will be given rank 3 and 10 will be given rank 4. Suppose you have two 6s here. Now both of them will be given rank 5. Right? Both of them will be given rank 5. Right? So in case of a tie, both of them will get a higher of the two ranks, two spots which they occupy. Right? And based on that, you have given these values. And if you look at the question, all the questions are what is the rank of this in the total states, what is the highest, which of the following is definitely true, what is the sum of the ranks of Delhi in all the three categories. So everything looks determinate except question number 3. All the other 3 look determinate and directly from the questions. All we need to do is analyze this, work it along with this. Your job is done. Okay, I have summarized the information. We know how to rank them. As we discussed earlier, all the other states will have less than or equal of 25 overall as well as in individual categories. Right? West Bengal is 520. All of them are SLL crimes. Okay. What is the rank of Kerala in IPC crimes? Okay. Let's look at IPC crimes. Right? Where will Kerala figure? Okay. There are 2 which are ranked 3. Okay. Let's see where IPC is the first bar. Now we know West Bengal is out because West Bengal does not have any IPC crimes at all. It has roughly about 10, 5 to 10 crimes, right? Between 5 to 10 crimes. Okay. We know the rank of Karnataka and Maharashtra. Both of them are ranked 3. Karnataka is higher. Maharashtra is also higher. So Kerala will be ranked after 3. Because there are 2 3s, Kerala will be 5, 6, 7 or something like that. Okay. Now let's look at what else do we know? We know Telangana. Telangana is ranked 6. Now Telangana is lesser than Kerala for sure. Right? So which means Kerala will be ranked higher than Telangana. Telangana is ranked 6. Kerala has to be ranked 5. Question number 2. In the 2 states where the highest total cases are registered. Now, which are the 2 states? West Bengal is the highest, which is 520. Next total is Delhi, which is the second highest. So, between West Bengal and Delhi, what is the ratio of number of cases in IPC to the number of SLL crimes? Now, West Bengal has only SLL. Delhi has IPC as well as SLL. West Bengal has 520 SLL crimes. Okay, 520 SLL crimes. How much does Delhi have? Delhi has about 35 odd, 35 to 40. How many IPC crimes Delhi has? Delhi has about 65 IPC crimes. This is 0. So 65 is 2, 5, 55. Roughly 9 times. Option 2. Question number 3. Which of the following is definitely true about the ranks of states or union territories in the other crimes category? Other crimes, which is the last one. Now we know West Bengal is pretty low in the others one. And all the other states will have 25 or lesser than 25. Now let's see how much Puducherry has. Puducherry has about 32, 33-ish. Tamil Nadu has about from 27 to 60, about 40. And Delhi has more than 40. Right? Maharashtra is less than 40. Goa is less than 40. Karnataka is less than 40. Haryana is less than 40. 30. See, all of them are lesser than them. So these are the top 3. Delhi will be 1. Tamil Nadu will be 2. And Pondicherry will be 3. So both of them are definitely true. Option 3 will be our correct choice. And question number 4 says, what is the sum of the ranks of Delhi in the 3 categories of crime? What will be the rank of Delhi in the 3 categories of crime? Now IPC Delhi has to be number 1, right? Because we know all the others will have 25 or lesser than that. SLL crimes. We know West Bengal is number 1 in SLL crimes. And number 2 is Karnataka. Is Delhi equal to Karnataka? Karnataka is pretty big compared to Delhi. No. Is Delhi number 3? Delhi has roughly about 35 to 40. right? Roughly about 35 to 40. Goa has roughly 35 to 40. Right? Goa is fourth. Maharashtra is also fourth. Right? All the others are lesser than that. All the others are lesser than that. So who is second? Second is Karnataka, but who is third? Third has to be Delhi. It has to be more than this, because if there is nobody here, if Delhi is not third, then one out of Maharashtra or Goa should be third, but both of them are ranked fourth. Right? So either all three of them should be ranked third, right? Or Delhi would have been higher. So even though we don't know the exact values, Delhi would be higher here. So SLL, Delhi will be third. And what about other crimes? Other crimes, again, Delhi is the highest. Can observe it very easily. Right? Delhi will be the highest. It is more than 40. We have already seen that, right? Delhi will be first. So 5 will be your correct answer. Now, it's a pretty moderate set, but the key point was, and what made life easy was two things which we figured out earlier itself. One is how the ranking process works. If there is a tie, both of them are given the higher rank. And second thing was, we had to figure out that the other states combined will have only 25 or lesser in each category, as well as the overall total for each state will be 25 or lesser. These are the two things which we had to figure out initially. Once we do that, the questions were pretty easy to solve. A lot of students miss out on good B schools because they simply don't apply and they are ignorant. They don't do any research beyond the IIMs, and they are more worried about their profile and academics, etc., rather than actually getting into a good B schools and making a career in the management field. If you would like personalized B school assistance, all you need to do is fill up the Google document. Link is available in the description of this video, and we'll send you individual B school recommendations which fit your profile and your career aspirations. So this is a question which is a combination of both sequencing as well as quants, right? There are some numbers involved and you have to sequence people as well. Let's see what the question says. 10 students with roll numbers 1 to 10. So roll number 1, 2, 3 till 10, represented by R01 to R10. Okay. Answer 20 questions, question 1 to question 20 in a quiz. Okay. Each of these 20 questions answered exactly one of the 10. It's answered by exactly one of the 10 students only. So question number 1 is answered by only one student. Question number 4 is answered by only one student. Question number 5 is answered by one student. Question number 20 is answered by only one student. Right? That is what is given to us. The following table describes the number of questions answered by each of the 10 students. Okay, so what this says is that roll number 1 answered 3 questions. Roll number 2 answered 1 question. Roll number 3 answered 3. 4 answered 2. 5 answered 2, but we don't know which one is which. And information about that is given here. If you quickly verify if there is any question which is unattempted. So there are 3 students who attempt 3 questions each. So that will be 9 questions. There are 4 students who attempt 2 questions. So that will be 4 into 2, 8. And there are 3 students who answer 1 question. So 3 into 1, 3. So that is total of 20. 17 plus 3, 20. Right? So we know each of the question is answered by one of the students and exactly one of the students. Okay. And we have some information about who exactly is answering what. If you look at the questions, it says what is the difference between the roll numbers, who among the following did not answer 2 consecutive questions, who answered question number 7, what is the difference between roll number. So you basically have to figure out which question is answered by which student. So we'll have to basically create a table of roll numbers 1 to 20 and figure out who answered which question. All right, let's slowly try to fill this out. Okay. The first statement says 5th and 6th questions were answered by the same student. Okay, 5th and 6th is the same student. Okay, 2nd and 9th were answered by the same student. 2nd and 9th were answered by the same student. Okay, 2nd and 9th were answered by the same student. 10th, 11th, 13th were answered by the same student. 10th, 11th and 13th, they were answered by the same student. Okay, 15, 16, 20 were answered by the same student. 15, 16 and 20 were answered by the same student. Okay, so now look at this. You have these three questions are answered by the same student. So it must be one of the students who answered three questions. It can be R1, R3 or R6. This will be R1, R3 or R6. Similarly, this will also be R1, R3 or R6. So 2 out of the 3 people who answered 3 questions, we know where they are. Now, the problem is with the people who are answering 2 questions. Now, one of them has answered, one of them is not present here. He could have actually be one of the students who answered these also. Right? It's not necessarily that I have all the information about the people who answered 3 questions. Right? I have only partial information. So I know 2 of them are here. The third one might be here, or he might be somewhere else completely altogether. Okay, so first is taken care of. Let's look at the second one. On exactly one occasion, 3 consecutive questions were answered by 2, 8 and 3 in that order. 2, 8 and 3 in that order. Now 2 has answered only one question. 8 has answered only one question. But 3 has answered more than one question. So you will have 2, then 8, and then you'll have 3. This will come in a sequence. This will come in a sequence. You'll have to fit in somewhere here. Statement 3. Roll number 1 answered questions 1 and 12, but not question number 3. Okay. Roll number 1 answered question number 1. Okay. 12. But not question number 3. So this is not roll number 1. Okay. Now this gives you a very nice hint, right? If you combine it with the first statement, now you know roll number 1 cannot be one of these 2 students. Why? Because you have already gotten 2 attempts from roll number 1. Roll number 1 has overall 3 attempts. So you already know the 2 attempts of roll number 1, right? And you also know that 2 and 9 is answered by the same student. So it cannot be roll number 1. Roll number 1 also cannot attempt 5 or 6. Why? Because then he'll be attempting a total of 4 questions. Right? That is not possible because nobody attempts 4 questions. Right? We also know that roll number 1 cannot be the one who attempts 10, 11 and 13 because he already has 2 attempts. Right? Similarly, cannot attempt 15, 16, 20 also. So we know 10, 11, 13 and 15, 16, 20 are R3 and R6. They are R3 and R6. Okay, so that's a nice start. Okay, proceeding further. Roll number 7 neither answered question number 3 nor question number 8. Roll number 7 did not answer 3, did not attempt 8. Okay, so that is taken care of. Fifth one says the roll number of the student who answered question number 9, okay, is 8 more than the number of student who attempted question number 18. Okay. Okay. So if, for example, if this is attempted by roll number 10, then 18 will be attempted by roll number 2. Right? If 9 is attempted by roll number 10, 18 will be attempted by roll number 2. Why? Because the roll number of the question who answered question number 9 is 8 more than the roll number of the student who attempted question number 18. Right? 2 plus 8 is 18. Similarly, if question number 9 is attempted by roll number 9, then 18 will be attempted by 1. Right? It cannot be attempted by 8. Why? Because you don't have a roll number 0. Okay, so this is a reasonable information. We also know that 9 and 2 are answered by the same question, same student. 9 and 2 are answered by the same student. So 2 will also be either roll number 10 or roll number 9. Do they actually have 2 attempts each? Yes, both of them have 2 attempts each. So we cannot restrict as of now. So this is a nice, another nice sequence. Okay. The roll number of the student who answered question number 17 is 1 less than sum of the roll numbers of the student who answered questions 16 and 18. Okay, 16 and 18. Okay, we'll come back to this later. We can work it out, but let's try some other statement. 7th statement says the difference between the question numbers answered by roll number 9 is 10. So if roll number 9, one of the questions that roll number 9 attempts is question number 3, the other question will be question number 13. Difference has to be 10. If one of the questions that he attempts is 5, the other one has to be 15. Okay, now if we combine this with the 5th statement. 5th statement told us roll number, question number 9 is attempted by either roll number 10 or roll number 9. We also know the same person attempts question number 2 from the very first statement, right? Now, if it was roll number 9, then roll number 9's second attempt will be question 2, which is not possible. Right? Because it will contradict the last statement. The difference between the question numbers attempted by roll number 9 is 10. Right? So we now know that question number 9 is attempted by roll number 10. Question number 2 is attempted by roll number 10. And question number 18 is attempted by roll number 2. Why? Because the difference has to be 8 as per question, as per statement 5. So this is a very nice breakthrough. Now we have finished 7, we have finished 5. Okay. Now we have this statement, the 2831, statement number 2. On exactly one occasion, 3 consecutive questions were answered by students with roll number 2, 8 and 3. We now know where is 2, 8 and 3. So we know the order. It should be 2, then 8 and 3. So we know question number 20 also. Question number 20 basically also is answered by the same person who answered 15 and 16. So this is roll number 3. This is roll number 3, which means this is roll number 6. This is roll number 6. This is roll number 6. Right. So I have now got substantial information over here. Now let's go back to statement 6 now. Statement 6 says the roll number of the student who answered question number 17 is 1 less than the sum of the roll numbers of the students who answered question number 16 and 18. Now 16 and 18, sum is 5. The person who answered question number 17 is 1 less than 5, which means roll number 4. Okay, that is also done. Now let's pick out all those people whose information is known. 3, I have answered all the questions, all the places. 2, I have fixed. 8, I have fixed. Okay, 6, I have fixed. 10, I have fixed. Okay, 1, I have one more remaining over here. Right, 4, I have 1 out of the 2 remaining. 5, I have both remaining, and 7 and 9, I have both remaining. Okay. Okay, so let's say, okay, 5 and 6 is answered by the same student. 5 and 6 is answered by the same student. Now, who can answer 5 and 6? It can be either roll number 9 or roll number 5. Roll number 9 or roll number 5. So this has to be 9 or 5. This has to be 9 or 5. Okay. Now, but can it be 9? Again, if you go back to the 7th statement, the difference between the questions answered by roll number 9 is 10. 9 cannot answer these consecutive questions. The difference has to be 10, right? So which means roll number 5 and 6 have to be answered by, question numbers 5 and 6 have to be answered by roll number 5. So this is 5, this is 5. Okay, now the only one available for roll number 9 is 14 and 4, because that's the only number available in the second half. From 1 to 10, there are some numbers available, but from 11 to 20, only one space is available, which is space 14. And this has to be used by roll number 9. Otherwise, the last statement, which is the difference between the numbers answered by roll number 9 is 10, will not be satisfied. So this will be roll number 9. This will be roll number 9. So I've placed roll number 9. I have placed roll number 5 as well. Okay. Now what is left? You have the spot for 7 left. You have a spot for 4 left, and you have a spot for 1 left. Okay. That's 8, 7, and 3. Okay. Roll number 7 does not answer question number 3 or question number 8. So roll number 7 will answer question number 7. Okay. Roll number 7 will answer question number 7, and 4 will be answered by 1 or 3. But so 3 will be answered by either 1 or 4. But we know that roll number 1 did not answer question number 3. So this has to be answered by roll number 4, and 8 is answered by roll number 1. Okay, so I've fitted every single value. I can now go to the questions and answer them. Question number 1, what is the greatest difference between the roll numbers of students who answered 2 consecutive questions? So the way to answer this is, if you track 2 consecutive questions, you need to figure out the difference and the greatest of these differences. So suppose question number 4 and question number 5 is answered by 7 and 2. The difference will be 5. So we'll have to keep on checking for each of the questions and find the greatest difference. Now luckily 1 and 2 is answered by 1 and 10. So the difference is 9, which is the greatest possible. Right, so we can straight away mark this. Okay, question number 2. Who among the following did not answer 2 consecutive questions? Okay, 5. 5 has answered 2 consecutive questions. So out. 6. 6 has answered 2 consecutive questions, 10 and 11. 3. 3 has also answered 2 consecutive questions. Is also out, so it has to be roll number 1. Okay. Question number 3. Who answered question number 7? Question number 7 is answered by roll number 7. And question number 4, what is the difference between the roll numbers of students who answered question number 8 and question number 3? Question number 8 is answered by 1, 3 is answered by 4, the difference is 3. Right, it's a very nice set actually. It required some amount of patience to go through each of the statements one by one. In an exam situation, it is going to be somewhere between 10 to 12 minutes to write, to try to solve this. It's a difficult exam question. It is actually based on the petrol pump concentration question, which came in CAT 2018. It's actually a slightly more difficult version of that, because that had only 3 levels, high, medium, low. This has actually like 10 students to be arranged and a graph to work with as well. If you get stuck anywhere with respect to preparing for LRDI, there are some free resources which are available on our YouTube channel. We have a playlist on how to prepare for LRDI. It includes which are the topics which you need to focus on, how much do you need to spend on each area. Also, we tell you how to go about picking sets in the examination. Right, so if you are not able to pick even a single set, this is a good framework to start with and build on for your CAT LRDI preparation. If you want any further assistance in terms of speaking with us, getting personal guidance, doing more practice, following a more structured path to LRDI preparation, please do look at our Ultimate LRDI course. So the set says telecom operators get revenue from transfer of data and voice. Average revenue received from the transfer of each unit of data is known as ARDT. So there is one acronym which is there. In the diagram below, the revenue received from data transfer as a percentage of total revenue received and ARDT in US dollars are given for various countries. So for different countries you have, so Asia, you have India, Hong Kong, Indonesia, Philippines, etc. So you have ARDT on the x-axis. Y-axis represents the percentage of revenue from data transfer as a percentage of total revenue. So there are 2 sets of income. You have data and non-data or voice. And you have overall income for companies. Right, you have a billing rate, ARDT, so average revenue. then you have volume. That will give you the revenue for that component. Right? So basically ARDT into number of units of data consumed will give you the revenue from data. Similarly, voice billing unit times the number of amount of voice or hours of voice used, that will give you revenue from that, and total revenue will be overall here. Let's go to the questions quickly and check what is there. It was found that if it was found that this is the case, it is expected if the total. So additional information is given in all the questions. Let's quickly run through where what data is available. Right, as I discussed earlier, you have a per unit charge, units consumed will be your revenue. So A into B should be equal to C. C should be A into B. Right. What is A? A is ARDT, which is given. So this is your x-axis. This is given in your x-axis. Okay. Similarly, D into E should be equal to F. Is anything given? No, this is revenue from dot. Okay. Now we know C plus F. So let's call it G. G should be equal to C plus F. Right. B plus E should be equal to H. And G by H should be the overall average unit. Right. What is given in the y-axis? Y-axis is the revenue from data transfer as a percentage of total revenue. So revenue in data as a percentage of total revenue. So C by G is what is given in y-axis. Okay, so this is how we need to relate each data point over here. Nothing much to do. Let's go to the questions one by one and solve them. So I've marked up what is available. A is basically available in the x-axis, y-axis is basically C by G, as we discussed. All right. First one says it was found that the volume of data transfer in India is same as that of Singapore. So data transfer volumes for Singapore and India are the same. Then which of the following statement is true? Let's see what is required. Total revenue is both the countries. Total revenue in India is 2 times this. Total revenue in India is 4 times this. Total. Okay, so you're comparing the total revenue of Singapore and India. We need to find total revenue of Singapore and India. Okay, so it's given volume of data transfer is the same. So let's assume 10 units of data transfer. This is data transfer. Now, what is the ARDT? So we are given B, right? So this is item B. Now item A, let's find it out. For India, item A will be about 1 unit. For Singapore, item A is about 9 units. So item C, which is the revenue from data, will be 10 units for India and 90 units for Singapore. Okay, I need to find the ratio of revenue. I need the overall revenue. So I know G by C is given in the y-axis. So let's try to calculate G for both of them. Right? Okay. C by G ratio for India. India, about 8 or about 9% of the revenues, 8 or 9% of the revenues come from data. So this is 9%. So I know India's revenues, item G, will be 10 by 9 into 100. Right. This will be India's item. Let's see what Singapore's item will be. Singapore's C by G number is. Singapore's C by G number is about 21%. Right. 21%. So Singapore's revenue would be 90 divided by 21 into 100. So you can find a ratio over here. 9 goes with this. So it will be 81, 21. Roughly 4 times. Singapore is roughly 4 times India. Option E will be our correct choice. Pretty straightforward if you understand how the data is represented. Question number 2. It is expected that by 2010, revenue of data transfer as a percentage of total revenue will triple for India. So India's number will triple. right? This value for India will triple. And Sweden will double. Assume that in 2010 the total revenue of India is twice that of Sweden. What volume of data, and that the volume of data transfer is same in both the countries. What is the percentage increase in ARDT if there is no change in ARDT in Sweden? Okay, so assuming that the volume of data transfer is the same and the revenue of India is twice that of Sweden, what will happen given these changes? Now, this is almost like a flip of the previous one, right? In the previous one, we were required to find the ratio of the revenues. Here, the ratio of the revenues is given. We need to change. We need to see how much will the ARDT change to. How much will the ARDT change in order to complete this? Okay, so let's start with Sweden and see what comes out of it, and then we'll move to India. So for Sweden, so you have A, then B, C, then from C we'll get C by G, and then we'll get G, and then we'll calculate it back for India. Okay, Sweden's ARDT number. Sweden is here. Sweden's ARDT number is about 6. Right. Volume of data transfer is same in both the countries. So let's assume 10 units here. So this will be 10 units here as well. Okay. So revenue from revenue from data will be 6 into 10, 60 units. Now the C by G number for Sweden right now is about 18. This will double. So it will become 36%. So total revenue of Sweden will be 60 by 36 into 100. This will be the revenue. It is also given that the total revenue of India is twice that of Sweden. So India's revenue will be 2 into 60 by 36 into 100. Now we need to calculate it backwards. Right. India's current C by G ratio is about 9%. It will become 3 times. So it will become 27%. So what will be C for this? Now we had from G we need to calculate C. So C by G into G will be C. So your C, which is the revenue value, will be 27 by 100 into, okay, let me write it down in a bigger place. 27 by 100 into 2 into 60 by 36 into 100. Right, this will be India's revenue from data. This is 3, this is 400 goes out, this is 15. 15 2s are 30, 13 to 3 is 90. Now, India's revenue is 90, volume of data is 10, so India's ARPU will be 9. Right, now the question is, what will be the percentage increase in ARDT of India? Right now, India's ARDT is 1. From 1, it has become 9. So it's a rise of 8 on 1, which is 800% increase. Option C will be your correct choice. And question number 3, if the total revenue received is the same for the pairs of countries listed in the choices below, choose the pair that has approximately the same volume of data transfer. Okay. See, we cannot do this exercise for all the pairs of country again and again. So let's see what we are actually required to calculate. It should be a pretty simple metric. Let's see what is the final metric that we need to calculate. We need to find the volume of data transfer. Okay, and it is given that the revenue for this block is the same. Right. Okay, so if I am given the revenue, let's assume my revenue is 100 units. Can I calculate the volume of data transfer? Right. How will I calculate the volume of data transfer? If I given my revenue, I will go to y-axis and calculate my revenue from data transfer. C by G into G will be C. So into your y-axis number will give me my revenue from data. Right. What do I need? I need volume of data, which is B. C is A into B. right? So if I'm given C, I need to find B. I will just divide C by A. What is A? A is the x-axis. So all I need to do is look at y-axis to x-axis for this range. Whichever is the closest, they should be equal. If the revenues are equal, then the volume of data transfer will be equal only if y-axis by x-axis value is the same for the other set also. That's all we need to do. Let's figure out. Philippines. Philippines is 34 by 3, 54 by 3. 54 by 3 compares with Austria. Austria is Austria. Here. Austria is roughly about y-axis is about 20. X-axis is about 7 or 8. Right, this is about 18. No, this does not match. Very huge gap. Canada and Poland. Canada is here. So you have 12 divided by 8. Poland is 22 divided by 6. This is 4. No, this is also out. Germany and US. Germany will be 24 by 7. And USA would be about, this is 20, about 17 by 11. Doesn't work. UK and Spain. Spain is here. UK is here. Okay. UK is roughly about 30 divided by 12 or 13. Spain is roughly about 15 by 6. This looks 6 or 7, right? 12, 13. This looks pretty similar. We'll come back to this. And last one is Denmark and Mexico. Denmark and Mexico. You have 12 by 6. Place Mexico. Mexico is here. That's 18 by 3. No, this does not work. So D is the best option. And if you observe carefully now in hindsight, you would see that if you draw a slope, Spain and UK are roughly in the same line. Right? The others are not in the same line if you draw it from the origin. Right? So that's another way to check. Now, this is a beautiful, beautiful question. If you're looking at data interpretation, if you want to work with limited amount of data and how to go about improving your data interpretation skills, this is a set which you should definitely look at. It's a moderate question, but it's made extra difficult because we don't know how the data is linked. We don't know, there are too many data points, too few information, each question has additional information. However, if you can figure out how one part of the data is linked to the other part of data, be calm, each of the question can be solved off pretty reasonably. In an exam situation, this will take you about 10 to 12 minutes, moderate to slightly hard level of question. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click on the notifications button so that you are notified when we are releasing our next set of videos. Please do like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. If you want to connect with us, you can connect with us through WhatsApp and Telegram as well. All the relevant links are available in the description of this particular video. So it says you have an agency interested to accredit colleges, looks for 4 parameters: faculty quality, reputation, placement quality, and infrastructure. Okay, then you have some information regarding the score ranges and what are the ways of calculation. Then you have grades which are given for each of them, and there is some information about which college is better and which college are lower. Now, if you look at the question overall, you need to basically find out which of these which of these parameters have what weightage, and then you also have to calculate the scores of some of the colleges. Okay, so let's dig deep into this particular question and see how it goes. Okay, an agency interested to accredit colleges look for 4 parameters. You have faculty quality, which is F, reputation, which is R, placement quality, which is P, and infrastructure, I. Okay, the 4 parameters are used to arrive at overall score, with agency used to give an accreditation to the colleges. In each parameter, there are 5 possible letter grades: A, B, C, D, and F. There is no E. Okay, A is 50, B is 40, C is 30, D is 20, and there is no E, F is 0. The overall score for a college is weighted, and the sum of the weighted sum of the points scored in these 4 parameters. The weights of the parameters are 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4 in some order, but the order is not disclosed. So we have to find out this order. Accreditation is awarded based on the following scheme. So if your overall net score is more than or equal to 45, you'll be given AAA. Then if it is between 35 and 40, but less than 45, B AA, then BBA, then BBB, and then junk, right? So for example, if on the 0.4 I get A, on 0.3 I get B, on the 0.2 parameter I get C, and 0.1 parameter I get D. My net score will be 0.4 into 50, which is 20, 0.3 into 40, which is 12, 0.2 into 0.2 into 30, which is 6, and 0.1 into 20, which is 2. So that's 20 plus 20. My overall score will be 40, and I'll be given BAA rating, right? And now these are the grades of these colleges on these parameters. We don't know how much is the weight of each of them. Now, based on these, we'll have to figure out which one is better and which one is lower. Okay, so let's look at each of them individually. Okay, now the first statement says high Q is better than best ed. So the high Q is better than best ed. Now on parameter P, both of them have the same rating, so there will be no difference in there. Now between B and C, this is higher, best ed is higher here, best ed is higher here, but high Q is higher in I, right? Which means whatever gain that best ed made from F and R was neutralized and overtaken by I in this, right? Now let's look at the difference in grades. B and C, the difference is 10 points. C and D, difference is 10 points. So 10 points into rating for F plus rating for R. Okay, this is the gain which best ed had. Now high Q overcame this grade. Okay, how? This is a difference of 20 points. Rating for infrastructure, right? Which means I can write this: F plus R is less than 2I. F plus R should be less than 2I. Okay, let's proceed further. Okay, if you look at the next one, best ed is better than cosmopolitan. This is better than this. Now again, there is no change here. There is no change here. So whatever is the rating for R should be better than the rating for I, because it is rated higher in R, whereas this is rated higher in I. And the difference is 10 points in both the cases. C and D, the difference is 10 points. So whatever is the difference in ratings here is overcome by the difference in ratings. Whatever is the difference in ratings in I is overcome by the difference in ratings in R by best ed. So I can write this: 10 times R should be more than 10 times I, or in other words, R should be more than I. Okay, let's go to the last one. Last one tells you education aid is better than A1. Education aid is better than A1. Now again, there is no change here. There is no difference here. The difference is from this. Because education aid is better than A1, I can say I will have a higher preference than P. Difference is the same, 10 points, 10 points, right? So I will be better than P. Now if I combine all of them, R is more than I is more than P, right? Now if you look at this, F plus R is less than 2I, and we know R is more than I, which means F has to be less than I, right? So in terms of weights, the highest weight is for R, this will be 0.4, I will be 0.3. Now one of them will be 0.2, one of them will be 0.1. Now let's check how we can get 0.1 and 0.2, allocate this. 2 times I will be 0.6, should be greater than 0.4 plus the grade for F. Now, which means the grade for F should be less than 0.6, sorry, 0.6 minus 0.4, which is 0.2. So it should be less than 0.2, which means F should be 0.1 and P should be 0.2. I have written this down. Let's go to the questions now. I have the grades for each of them. I've written it out neatly. Okay, what is the weight for the faculty quality parameter? Faculty quality is F, grade is 0.1, right? Weightage is 0.1. Okay, now 2, 3 and 4 require you to calculate grades. Okay, now let's check the question third one because that is the easiest to calculate. 3 says what is the highest overall score among the 8 colleges? If you look at the 8 colleges, okay, look at the highest overall will be where you get maximum number of A's and B's. So A1 is one of them, Education Aid is the second one, and Fancy. These 3 will have the highest scores because everything else is B, that nobody else gets an A anywhere, right? So let's calculate the values for this. For this, you will get, this is 50 into 0.4 will be 40, 50 into 0.4 will be 20. 50 into 0.1 will be 5, 50 into 0.2 will be 10, and 40 into 0.3 will be 12. So A1's grade will be 22 plus 5, 27 plus 20, 47. Now we know Education Aid is more than this, right? Because that's given in the problem itself, right? So Education Aid will be, this is 20 again, and 5. Here it is going to get, here it's going to get 40 into 0.2, that's 8, and here it is going to get, here it's going to get 50 into 0.3, that's 15. So total will be 23, 28, 48. Education Aid is 48. Now if you look at Fancy, it is worse than this, so you don't need to calculate for Fancy. Education Aid will be the highest. So 48 will be for question 3. Now you need to find how many colleges receive accreditation of AAA. Now because you have so many B's, these two are definitely getting AAA's. Let's check if Fancy also gets AAA's. This will be 20 plus 5, 25 again. And on these two it gets, 40. 40 into 0.5 will be 20. So this also gets 45. So this will be the score for Fancy, that will be 45. Right, so Fancy is the next one, everything else will be lesser than this. So there are 3 colleges which receive accreditation. Now it's only for the last one where you probably have to check the highest scores. Now, even here we can take up some part. Your question is how many colleges receive scores between 31 and 40. Now these 3 are out. Right, these 3 are out. Now if you look at the information which is given, right, Best Ed is better than Cosmopolitan, and high Q is better than Best Ed. So let's try high Q. Okay, let's check high Q's scores. High Q score will be 30 into 0.1, which is 3. This will be 20 into 0.4, which is 8. Right, this is 3. 20 into 0.4, which is 8. This will be 20 into 0.2, which will be 4. And it will be 40 into 0.3, which is 12. So that's 20 plus 7, 27. High Q is 27, right, which does not satisfy this criteria. So high Q is out, which means Best Ed and Cosmopolitan are also out, right? So these two are also not possible. So it can be either 2, 1 or 0, right? Now let's check these two. Okay, if you look at global is worse than or equal to high Q. So global cannot beat high Q. So this is out. And if you look at dominance is also dominance is also worse except for this. Okay, let's check dominance here. Dominance score will be D, that will be 2 here, 2 into 0.4, that will be 8 here, that will be 0.4 into 0.2, that will be 8 here, and C will be 12 here. That's 30, right? Which is still not between 31 and 40. So option 4 will be your correct choice. Option 4 will be your correct choice. So none of them will have this. So this was a question which was not difficult. You had to be a little careful while calculating it, and you can use the questions to solve only the partial information which is required to be solved. Okay, once you get the faculty parameters and the parameters correctly, the rest of the questions were moderate to solve. Okay, this will take in an actual exam situation about 8 to 10 minutes, right? This completes this particular question. That completes this session on must-do sets for CAT LRDI preparation. Please do let us know in the comments below how you like this. Please do share this with your friends who are preparing for CAT and other MBA entrance examinations. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, or you can connect with us on WhatsApp and Telegram groups. The links are all available in the description of this particular video. If you are facing any problem with CAT LRDI sets, you can look at our YouTube channel playlist on how to prepare for CAT LRDI. If you want any specialized, personalized attention on LRDI preparation in the most structured manner, you can also look at our Ultimate LRDI course. This is the most comprehensive course which is available in the market. Till we meet again the next time, goodbye and all the best.